Boom. All right, so welcome once again. Lee McCroskey here. As I was saying, I just got back from my trip to England, and I'm happy to be back live. I hope who enjoyed the videos that I sent out the last 2 weeks. Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3 people. All right, another success. But yeah, watch those if you didn't have a chance to, because they're quite good. As I was saying, we were listening to this hit song, Who Are You? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you're taking notes, and I trust you are, we're going to talk about identity. Literally, when I started this phone call and I got in the Zoom room, I had a little message pop up that said, 7-Eleven stores have been hacked. And how many of you have read about different credit companies like Equifax was hacked and Bank of America was hacked and people lost their identities and they're being shared all over the internet? Maybe some of you were victims of identity fraud. But in the Equifax hack, there were about 150 million people. Their information was exposed. And what that did, that was positive, was it caused people to start watching their credit reports. They started paying attention to their bank statements. They started watching their credit card ledgers. So when there's a crisis like that, it causes people to pay more attention. All right. Normally they just roll along and they don't even notice things. Oh, got to admit more people. Here comes Dimitri. All right. So what's interesting is that kind of monitoring is actually a wise move. If you're a consumer and you're monitoring your credit, even if one of your banks was never compromised and not hacked, it sometimes takes a crisis to remind most of us to do what we should have been doing all along, and that's watching for problems. So let's talk about this a little bit. Not so much about getting your identity hacked, but who are you? This is an identity call. I'm going to talk about 5 lies that people believe. 5 lies that people believe about themselves. And I want you to, as you listen to these 5 things, this won't take too long. I want you to go through and say, that may be one, that's a pitfall for me. Or that one is one I partially believe. Or, ooh, you know what? That might be a lie that I've sort of adopted and I didn't even know it. So that's how I want you to kind of look at this, okay? I got a tweet. I am on Twitter. And not many of you follow me. And I don't tweet that much because I think it's polluted for the most part with political crap. But occasionally I do get something on Twitter that's useful. And I ran across some information and I thought, you know what? If we're talking to leaders, if we're trying to help people grow as leaders, then we need to help them identify blind spots or scotomas that they may have in their lives. So that's kind of what I'm doing for you today. I'm setting all this up because yesterday when I did this, or last night with Hong Kong, I went through these 5 things and then they were just in stunned silence. They're like, So it's not one of these happy, yay, what a positive message or whatever. This is just food for thought. I want you to think when you're done. I know some of you are just starting your day. I know some of you are just finishing it, but if you write these down and take a minute to reflect, those of you who take time to reflect at the end of the week are smart and you're growing. So put this in your little reflection notebook of things to kind of think about. All right, so the tweet I ran across was from a popular priest, an author. His name is Henry Nouwen, if you're an American. And what the piece did was it explored some of these lies that we believe about our own identity. So let me hit a couple he had, and I want to add a couple of my own. So here we go. Number 1, the first lie that you can believe about yourself, and I hope you don't, but this is a big one, I'm going to spend some time on it, is I am what I have. I am what I have. In other words, I am what I own. Now let me share you some stats. The reason I share stats from the USA is because I live here and I'm the most familiar with our culture. So there are parts of our nation I'm very excited about, very proud of, like the women's soccer team. Woohoo! World Cup, yeah. Sorry, had to mention that. But on the downside, there are some weak spots or weak areas or massive problem areas that we have. Here's one. Our country believes that we are what we have. Like, look at me and look at all my stuff. So I looked up stuff. On the internet. Here's some stats. Country per thousand average home. Source like where from, whatever. The average size of an American home has nearly tripled in size over the past 50 years. I'm guilty of a large home. Sorry. Here's one that got me. This is what I noticed. 1 out of every 10 Americans rent off-site storage. In other words, the fastest growing segment of the commercial real estate industry of the past 4 decades is store it, like places where you can store your stuff. And I drive by, there are places all over Brentwood where I live, and I drive around, I'm like, another self-storage area? And they're like apartment complexes. You drive in, it's gated, it unlocks, you take your van in and you unload junk that you can't fit in your house and you store it there. Now, I don't know what you do with your storage other than say, hey, I've got some really cool stuff over in that bunker. But anyway, it's troubling. 25% of people with 2-car garages here don't have room to park inside them. 32% only have room for 1 vehicle. And there's a bunch of stuff here. British, here's a little something from Britain. If the Brits were feeling smug. British research found that the average 10-year-old owns 238 toys, but plays with just 12 daily. Yeah. All right, I think I'm going to stop because I'm getting negative. Average American family, this may be encouraging when we break into the American market. Average American family spends $1,700 on clothes annually. Yeah, you can get a decent suit for that. Average American spends more on shoes, jewelry, and watches, 100 billion, than we do on higher education. Okay, enough. Enough. That just makes me sad. But that is falling under the lie that if you have more stuff or better stuff or the best stuff or different stuff, that you'll be fulfilled. Does not work. Has anybody ever really gotten excited about owning something? You're like, oh man, if I just had that car, or if I just had that really, whatever it is. And then you bought it, and a week later you're like, well, this is cool, but okay, no one notices. It loses its luster, right? So when we buy into the lie that I am what I own, then we accept the message of extreme consumerism. And we think that accumulation and pursuing like cutting edge stuff, technology, like the latest and greatest phone. Like I got my Samsung S8, severely outdated already, but it works. But there's all kinds of pressure. You're like, oh, you know what? You really need the S10X or whatever's out. Same thing with the iPhone. Got to have it. But as we realize whatever we get, it either breaks or it gets obsolete, then we feel insecure. So I'm here to tell you folks, you are not what you own. There you go. There's more to life. All right, number 2. Second lie we believe from Henri Nouwen. I am what I do. I am what I do. Now this is one that guys, especially, our identities are tied up in our work. So whatever we're doing, we find fulfillment in that. Women a little bit more so, I'm generalizing, but women are more into the relational side of things, but men are about killing and eating and trophies and stuff like that, generally speaking, all right? So you're not what you do. Let me tell you, when I worked for Southwestern for 36 years, which is a long time to work at a company, but I liked it. Guess what? When I left Southwestern in 2014, I experienced sort of an emotional free fall for a while. It was like, whoa, what's going on? No one knows that I'm great. Help. I don't have a title. Ah, it was a little bit weird because I had always, when you go to a party or you meet somebody, what's the first question they ask? Oh, what do you do? What do you do? And it's always like, well, I'm director of this or VP of that. And everybody goes, oh, blah, 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 and everyone's impressed. Well, when that's removed, you feel a sense of loss, especially if you're a guy, right? So whether it's a job, a title, a role you have, when I was at Southwestern running the training, and I was literally organizing the training for thousands of university students, there was a certain sense of fulfillment in that. It's like, man, I'm impacting hundreds and thousands of lives down to, and that could have been. But if you make your life that role and that's removed, then you got a problem. Okay? So I recovered from all this. Thankfully, I'm not depressed or anything. So all is well. But we're really good at defining ourselves by what we do. So when you're in a world that when you retire or you age out of the ability to do your job, or you lose the role in a weird way, or you're fired, it can get tremendously dangerous to your self-worth, okay? So we may introduce ourselves by what we do, but our true identity can't be summed up in what we do, okay? That's why we're called human beings, not human doings. Thank you. All right. Good. I know this is heavy. I'm sorry. Let's go to number 3. Number 3, third lie I don't want you to fall into a trap with is this. I am what other people say or think about me. In other words, my identity is my reputation, what other people think about me or what they say about me. I don't think that's true. Now, there's a difference between reputation, which is what is on the outside. All of us have reputations, and it's important to have a reputation. Don't take all of this so seriously that you throw everything away, live in a hut somewhere. But due to social media, modern technology, it's really easy to know what other people think of you, even what bots think of you. So we sometimes buy into the lie that popularity or approval from others and their acceptance of us, that defines us. Like, she didn't return my text within 5 minutes. I feel depressed. Well, no, my Facebook post only got 3 likes. I'm a loser. Okay, that's the downside of social media. For all of its wonderfulness to connect us, also sucks in a lot of ways. It really does, because people, especially younger people, put all of their, my niece put so much of her self-worth into how many likes she got, how fast she got. Whether it was Instagram or Facebook, that her parents actually had to say, look, we need to take a break, because she was literally depressed. She got 12 likes of something she put out there. It's like, what? So anyway, it's a little bit crazy. So you are not what other people say about you. There's more than that. There's character. That's what's on the inside. That's your internal compass. That's how you carry yourself as you go through life. Your reputation has how other people perceive you. You want to guard your character jealously. Okay, 2 more, and I'll wrap up and see if you guys have any comments or thoughts. Number 4. This is for people who suffer from a little bit of a self-esteem issue. Here's the lie. I'm nothing more than my worst moment. I'm nothing more than my worst moment. How many of you have had an experience where you just, you made a serious mistake? You can raise your hand. I'm not going to call on you. You damaged a relationship. I've had moments where I felt like I ruined a relationship. I damaged years ago, 30 years ago, I damaged my marriage severely by just some poor judgments and getting caught up in career and neglecting that relationship. So we've all had moments we wish we could take back. But in light of those moments, when we fell down and made mistakes and blew it, it's easy to be deceived into thinking that the whole of who you are is nothing more than your worst moment, right? You know what I'm talking about? Like some of you, if I say, think of a time when you really screwed up, you just like, bam, got it. Or you think, oh, which one do you want? I've got a whole portfolio of screw ups. Look at these. And I think we get that from the dark side. I'm not talking about Star Wars, but like there is an evil component out there. The dark side is like an insurance adjuster. Has anybody ever had a car that you wrecked or you damaged? And then you have to call somebody and the insurance adjuster comes out and goes, and they take just pictures of your mess up. Okay, you ruined your fender, click, click. Or nowadays you can take a picture of it and send it in. The dark side is like that insurance adjuster. Whenever you start feeling good about yourself, it comes in and says, oh, wait a minute. Remember this one? Oh, yeah. You remember that? Yeah. You really blew that, didn't you? Yeah, you did. Okay. Just putting you in your place. And then you build up your confidence again. And you go, and then the insurance adjuster comes in and says, wait a minute. I got this. Look at 8x10. I printed it. It's digital. Look at that mess. And you're like, ugh. So some of us can define where we are by our worst moment. And you are more than just your worst moment. That's what I'm here to tell you. As long as you're alive, there are more moments to experience and to make changes. Now, some of you listening, I'm going to go to number 5, couldn't relate at all to number 4 because you're like very good at covering up your screw-ups. You're like, well, I don't really have any problems, especially compared to him. That's what we all do. We all like to grade on the curve. My life's really good compared to her. Wow. That's not, God doesn't grade on the curve, by the way. So here's number 5. This is for the opposite effect. These are for people with massive egos who are very impressed with themselves. This is something to remember. I'm nothing less than my best moment. 5th lie. I'm nothing less than my best moment. This might surprise you that I would put this on the list, but some of us build our identity on our successes and our greatest moments. And I think that can be just as equally dangerous as building it on our worst moments. An identity that's based just on our latest success is fragile. It's fleeting. It can change in a second, right? If you're like 22 years old and you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about, then just skip this. But you will reach a point in life sometime when you might be feeling great and you might be doing really well, and then things fall apart. Life is not fair. Pain is a part of life. So I want you to use your best moments and your worst moments to keep perspective and not to lose perspective. Because some people, if they haven't had a success, I'll put it in a weird context because it just popped into my mind. There were guys I used to know that was like, unless they were going out with, dating, or sleeping with the best looking girl, then they hadn't experienced success. It was like their latest success is who they scored with. Yeah, look at me. I'm a winner. I'm a sexual Olympian. Whatever. Judge that how you will, but the problem is that no matter how you measure that achievement or success, it doesn't last. Okay? So here's what I would recommend now that you're all like, oh, I'm completely depressed. I would say this: anything or anyone outside of you cannot define your true self. That would be a good thing to write down. Anything or anyone outside of me cannot define my true self. You do that. I think only God within you can do that. If I put my identity with God, if I explore that spiritual component, if I figure out what my relationship is with Him, then I don't care what people think about me. I don't really care about all the junk I have. It becomes less important. I don't look at my worst moment and go, oh, I'm such a loser. No, because I've sorted myself out relationally with God. I'm going to encourage you to do that. Francis of Assisi, you may have heard of him, lived centuries ago. He said this: I am who I am in the sight of God, nothing more, nothing less. So, now, here's my question as we wrap. Which of these 5 lies have you believed at some point? Or maybe you just started down the path. You're like, oh, you know what? I've really been thinking a lot about my massive screw up 2 years ago, and that's been dominating my thoughts. You can break out of that. You can, as long as you can identify a lie, then you can flee from it. It doesn't have any power over you. But I just want to let you know this is kind of one of those food for thought calls, something to think about. So anybody, I won't call on you and say, all right, what's your biggest problem, Eustace? Now I won't do that. So don't, Eustace, you went, oh, don't do that. I want you to, in your groups, if you're comfortable, to maybe talk about that. But this is just kind of a warning to stay within the guardrails as you're driving down the highway of life. These are pitfalls to avoid. So, any thoughts? I'm just wrapping up my tea here. Yeah, I thought so. Similar reaction with Hong Kong. Yeah, I just thought this was a really interesting topic. Maybe it was just for me. But anyway, I'm excited about hopefully seeing a lot of you in Leeds. Yeah? So work hard and qualify. Do your best. And we probably won't talk about this topic at Leeds since it's kind of heavy duty. We'll keep it light. But I do want you to think. That's my job, to help you think. All right. That is all from this end. Please continue to win, and we'll see you live next week. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out.